No, I don't think you should show dicks in comic books.
Okay, maybe not this
You're like all these old school video game questions I wasn't expecting.
So, Jim, thank you very much for taking your time.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Let us introduce ourselves. We are from Czech Republic, from YouTube channel called Komiksové Noviny, which means comics news. We are bringing the weekly content to our fans.
Awesome.
And it's a pleasure for us to have you here.
Oh, thank you. I'm really thrilled. Like so far, the Vienna Comic Con has been a lot of fun.
Sure.
It's been a really good show.
Yeah,
That's nice to hear. And if you would be kind to maybe introduce yourself,
Sure.
or how would you want to be introduced
Right.
for the Czech fans?
Okay. So my name is Jim Zub. I'm a comic book writer, probably best known for working on the Avengers, Champions, Thunderbolts, Dungeons and Dragons, and also the Samurai Jack comic series.
So you mentioned Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
You wrote like several books of from this world. I'm wondering, have you played the Baldur's Gate?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
I grew up on playing Dungeons and Dragons, the tabletop game,
Sure.
and then playing the video games as well.
Yeah.
So on the old Commodore 64, I used to play the Pool of Radiance.
Eye of the Beholder.
Yeah, Eye of the Beholder, all those games, and all the way through the Baldur's Gate games and Icewind Dale, all those games. I love them.
I'm wondering, aside of is it Minsk or
Minsk and Boo.
Minsk. Aside of Minsk, who was your favorite character from Baldur's Gate?
Oh man.
Because you are using Minsk in the comics.
Yeah, we used Minsk, and in the first miniseries, we also had the elf. I forget his name.
Khalid?
No, the other one, the thief. It's right on the tip of my tongue. Oh, it's gonna drive me crazy. I can't remember it. Yeah, the cast is so cool. I thought they were just such a great. Yeah, it was just such a great game, and it just brought this warmth to all the characters. That was really really cool.
And speaking of Baldur's Gate, in the second game, who did you usually have relationship with?
Oh, geez, you're like all these old school video game questions I wasn't expecting. I can't remember the characters' names now. All the D&D fans are gonna hate me. God, geez, it's right. Give me a couple of the options. I can't remember the names.
You could have in number 2. You could have with Jahira, which was
weird,
a bit odd because she was like she was like friend of your father.
Yeah,
so
it's like super weird, right?
Bit like MILF situation. And then there was this elf with the wing, like area or something. She was in the cage, and Minsk was overprotective of her.
Oh, right, that's right. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why in the comic series, he's protective of the sorceress in that as well.
Yeah,
because he sort of takes to her in the same kind of way.
In the first episode, he had this. She was something like Daenerys.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he thinks she's exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. He thinks she's Nira. That's right. Yeah. There you go.
Sounds like Daenerys.
Yeah. That's right. Oh man, taking me back, all the old video game stuff.
Okay, so let's move back to the comics.
Sure. No worries. What other things can I answer for you?
Drop the glitter bomb.
Oh,
here.
Glitter Bomb. Thank you. Glitter Bomb is a series that I wasn't sure how people would take. It's very different from my other writing, and it's very dark and it's horror.
And you were ahead of time.
Yeah, sort of.
Like a year.
Yeah. It felt weird because it was something that I felt really strongly about after doing research on it, and then all of a sudden, just after the book came out, all of a sudden everyone was talking about all this corruption in Hollywood.
And the Me Too movement.
Absolutely, it was creepy in some ways because I thought people were like, this is so exaggerated, it's so over the top, and in some ways we weren't even far enough, the reality is far darker than we could have imagined.
Because I finished it recently, and then I was like, this is like 2, maybe 3 years old. So I checked the dates and I was like, wow, he was ahead of the time.
Yeah, and those essays in the back from Holly they're haunting. They're really creepy stuff.
Sure.
Absolutely.
What led you to this topic? Like, what was
it's interesting. Most of my writing is it's much brighter, it's much happier, but I would have these sort of like negative thoughts or feelings like, man, I get so frustrated, or if things don't, you know, when you start working in a creative field, you get really nervous about failure. You don't want to fail. You know, you don't want to do something or have people dislike it or dislike you. And I thought about my own fears of failure and this idea of, well, if you were known for something and that's all you were ever going to do, and then you've got to live the rest of your life trying to live up to that. And then I thought, well, what is an industry that has that in an extreme way? Well, Hollywood is probably the most extreme version of that, where you could be a TV actor, be known for a few years, and then you're no one, and then you're just stuck, and no one, you know, for a long time, you know, Leonard Nimoy was really bitter about being Spock because he couldn't seem to escape it. He couldn't get other roles that he wanted as an actor, or, you know, you have to sort of come to accept what you're known for. And if you couldn't, or if you didn't even get that much fame, what would that feel like? You know, they say that being famous is like winning the lottery, like 1 in a million. But what if you're just close, but you don't quite? What if you had 4 of the numbers instead of 6, and you always think about what could have been, you know? And so that was kind of this weird fuel that I thought about, and it rolled around in my head. And I wanted to sort of say something about a story about people who fail or people who can't escape their failure.
But did you mean, was it like aiming for some like feminist undertone there?
Absolutely, like, but and there's so much mistreatment of people in Hollywood, particularly women, and so it was a lens that we could explore that idea of failure and bitterness and frustration, and the inequality of how that system works.
Did you do some research on this?
Absolutely. So I read a lot of different books about Hollywood. I interviewed some people, and that's how I met Holly. I read an essay that she had written, I think it was for a website called, I think it was like G.I. Jane or something. It was like a feminist website, and she had written about her experiences in Hollywood, and it was really visceral. It was powerful stuff. And I emailed her out of the blue, and I said, you don't know who I am, but I'm putting a story together, and it's a horror story about Hollywood. I read your essay, and it honestly made me cry. Like, it hurt so hard. How do you live with that? What do you think about now? Can we talk about this? And she was really open, and she was very kind, and agreed to write new essays for Glitter Bomb. We took that first one and we put it in the first issue. We reprinted it, and then she did brand new stories as well. And that became really powerful fuel for me as I was writing this story, because although it's fantastic and horrifying, like supernatural, it's built in something real.
On a real world.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk a bit about Wayward.
Sure.
Because you finished your run on Wayward like a couple of months ago.
Yeah, just like a month ago.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if you have any creator-owned plans, you know.
Yeah,
ahead.
Absolutely. So originally, creator-owned comics are really amazing, but it's a lot of extra work.
Sure.
You're so invested in every single part of it. And as we were coming to the end of Wayward, I'm super proud of it, and I'm excited about finishing it. And I thought, I'm going to take a break. Maybe I won't do any new creator-owned in 2019, and then 2020 I will. But you know how it is. You start thinking about things, and ideas start coming up.
Maybe some idea will come up.
And then an artist that I've worked with before reached out to me and said, hey, we should develop something now that you're done Wayward. And I was like, maybe. And then I have a good idea, and I bounced it off him, and he got really excited, and so that just started the ball rolling again. So I think in the spring we're going to announce my next creator-owned book.
Okay.
Yeah, we're really excited about it. It's going to be something a little bit different than what I've done before. It's big action adventure, but it's not, it's a little bit different.
Sure.
Very, very excited about it.
Okay, we will stay tuned.
Yeah, for sure.
And
it's good.
Do you have any like unfulfilled ideas? You are in the industry for so
Absolutely.
long.
Like, I think that's one of the interesting things is the more you write, the more ideas come up. And you sort of, sometimes you just write a name, or you write a title or a sentence or a big concept. Other times you're writing like a bit of dialogue or a scene, and I just sort of keep it all, little notepads and note paper, and you never know when that stuff will come back, or you realize, you know what? I could take this thing I came up with 3 years ago, and it's just been floating free, and this other thing I just came up with now, you slam them together, and all of a sudden you've got a new idea, and it generates momentum.
Do you put some like inside jokes in your work?
Yeah, like in Glitter Bomb, the little boy, Marty, he's playing with toys from Skull Kickers, which is my first creator-owned book that people know me for. So sometimes you work those little jokes in there, or you put little cameos of your friends in the background or things like that. You know, it's fun to be able to be playful with that stuff. In Wayward, in the last issue, we do like a montage of different locations, and each of those locations were like important places to me. So there's one where I grew up, and there's one where Steven lives, and all these different sort of places that I wanted to do a little nod to. And no one would know, they just see different locations because we're telling this story about things happening all over the world, but each of those places means something to me. Yeah.
So I'm afraid that we are running out of time because we have to head to the panel.
Yeah.
So one last question.
Sure.
Unfortunately, none of your work have been translated to Czech language.
Oh.
So which of your works would you recommend to Czech publisher to translate?
It's got to be Wayward. Like Wayward's such a, I think because that way you don't have to, like with the Avengers and all that other stuff, it's connected to so many other stories, but Wayward is self-contained. And it's like a powerful story, it's action-packed. You know, teenagers fighting Japanese monsters.
Yeah,
how could you not enjoy that? It's dramatic and it's got a lot of surprises. Yeah, it's new, so it feels very polished to me. Mm-hmm. Like the older work you look at, and I know people like it and I like it too, but I always see things I might do differently now, whereas Wayward's very recent, so I'm like, no, that works the way I planned all the way along. So.
Okay, so we will tell them to publish.
Sweet, exactly. I would be thrilled to see it there.
It was a real pleasure, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Sweet.